So I'm here in Shanghai, China, and I just flew here after going to Manila for about a week to go and meet the Filipino part of my team. I've hired about 32 people there over the last 2 years or so. Had never met any of these people in person. Some of them I actually hired 5 years ago. A couple of them I hired 8 years ago. So I thought it'd be a good idea to finally go out there now that I had enough people to really make it worth the trip. It was an amazing experience. I've been working with a lot of these people virtually for years. Having finally met them in person, it really just humanized the whole thing. Had never been to the Philippines before, had been to Asia many different times, but not to the Philippines. This is actually my first time in China. This is the Bund. It's a really cool sightseeing touristy spot by this river. Anyway, so I learned a ton about the Philippines when I was there. I pretty much stayed in one area the whole time called Bonifacio Global City, or BGC. It's like the main spot where you would go if you're visiting from the West. So if you have a call center operation there or some kind of outsourced part of your company, that's the place that you're gonna go and stay. It's pretty modern. There's a lot of nice hotels there. There's a lot of American Fortune 100 companies that have their offices there. This is kind of interesting. There's a lot of these around Shanghai. They have these little like police pods. So I stayed in that one area most of the time. It's very modern, a lot of amenities around there, good food. Outside of that though, I didn't really explore much of the city. It's very apparent that it's a third world country when you're there. There's a lot of rundown buildings. Most people are pretty poor. There are some kids begging on the street. It's pretty sad. But overall, it was really interesting getting to know everybody and meeting them in person. It was cool to see how excited they were to meet me. I mean, I was excited to meet all of them because I've been working with them forever. But when we had our dinner, I basically rented this venue room at our hotel. When we had our dinner, they were all coming up, taking pictures with me. They brought me a bunch of gifts, and I was able to learn a lot about their lives. Essentially, the gist of it for all of them is that they worked in some kind of outsourced business process for an American company their whole career. Whether it was a call center or recruitment, they were all used to working in an office for an American company. They were all so excited to have a work from home job. So here's part of the reason why. So one of them is telling me that she used to commute to work 2 hours each way. And in order to get there, she had to take a Grab, which is basically the Asian version of an Uber. She would make around, I think she said 50,000 pesos a month, which is not a lot of money. And then after spending money on the Grab, 2 hours each way, so 4 hours out of her day, she was left with like 16,000 pesos. So eventually she just quit. And she decided to work from home because she was literally spending over half her salary on her frickin' transportation to and from work. It's crazy. So that's part of the reason why a lot of these people in the Philippines that are working online are so grateful to be working online, because the alternative is they have to take these crazy commutes, and the traffic in Manila is terrible, by the way. Basically, like the area that I was staying, the BGC area, that's where so many people are commuting to work because that's where the office buildings are. But none of them live there because it's too expensive. It's cheaper than the US, but the rent to live in that area is still significantly more than it is in other parts of Metro Manila. So they all have to commute there. So the city was like kind of a shit show in that all the office buildings are in like one little hub, and no one can live there because they can't afford to live there. These are the people working on the office buildings. So they all live further outside that area, and then they're literally all commuting there at the exact same time. So the traffic is just insane. Hence why that person that I described earlier literally had to commute 4 hours a day. So it's an incredibly congested city. To add to what I'm saying, all of these office workers, just like in the US, got a taste of working from home during COVID. And none of them want to go back for obvious reasons. And then also they were telling me what it's like to work in these call centers. I've never worked in a call center, thank God. But they were just saying you get micromanaged like crazy, and it doesn't sound like a very fun place to work. All right, so let's talk about China now. China is just totally different than the Philippines, not even close. It's very modern. It's very, very nice. It's about 1:30 a.m. right now, which is the morning in the US. That's why it's dark out. There's literally no one out here except for like some drunk people. But China is so cool. And you know, it's crazy living in the US because all you hear are negative things about China. You hear about how they're communists, they have no freedom, and you know, China and the US are not exactly the best best of friends right now. And as a result, you basically just get negative propaganda. There's really like no Americans here. I think that's why. It's also a little bit difficult to get a visa compared to other countries. You can't just get a visa on arrival. But so far, I've only been here about a week, so I am not saying I'm an expert on China at all. I have paid attention to China and tried to learn about the culture and how they do things here, but I've only been here a week. This particular city is huge. Shanghai has 30 million people. It's a massive city. I think it's the third biggest city in the world. But one of the first things that I noticed here was how peaceful it is. I just lived in New York for about a month, and if you've ever been to New York, Manhattan, you'll know that it's very dirty, it stinks. There's tons of homeless people. There's tons of just sketchy people in general. There's a lot of illegal immigration. Regardless of your political stance, it's still a thing objectively that's going on. It's very loud. Everyone's honking their horns for like the dumbest reasons. I'll be walking around the city and I'll see people just aggressively yelling at each other in the car and honking horns over just the stupidest thing. So everybody's on edge. And then comparing that to Shanghai, just picture the exact polar opposite. And this is like the first thing I noticed when I got here because I was shocked. All the vehicles are electric. When I say all, it's probably not 100%, but it's got to be at least like 90 something percent. They're all electric, the cars and the scooters or motorcycles, whatever you want to call them. A lot of people are riding bikes, and as a result, it's super quiet. They have these signs here on the streets, which I thought were pretty funny. It's a picture of a horn with a red circle and a cross through it, basically telling you not to honk your horn. When I say it's the opposite of New York, it's actually the opposite of New York. You're like socially shamed if you honk your horn. So you have all electric vehicles. No one uses their horn. I haven't heard a single car horn the entire time I've been here. And there's a lot of people out walking around during the day. Not right now. It's night, obviously. But there's a lot of people out walking around. But because they're Chinese, they don't talk. So like you've got all this traffic. You've got this pedestrian foot traffic, and it's dead quiet. There's like no noise. It's the most peaceful city I've ever been to. And it's also so clean. It's unbelievable. It's incredibly clean, incredibly quiet, very peaceful. People are, I'd say they're generally polite. Like they'll move out of your way if you're walking towards them. Well, that's one of the biggest things right there. And then also I haven't noticed, like, unlike the US, there's like no degeneracy in their culture. People are dressed up. They're well dressed. They're well mannered. The service is good at the places I've been to. I've only been going to nice places, but it's just like such a stark contrast to the US. And it's crazy because like all the US cities, at least the big ones, they're really not good places. They're not livable. I love America. I'm a proud American. I love freedom, but objectively, you can't even argue with this. The big American cities, LA, New York, San Francisco, even parts of Miami. I haven't been to Chicago, but all those cities, they're really just, they're in the toilet. I was going to say going down the drain, but like, no, they've already been flushed. There's tons of homeless. They're dirty. There's tons of problems. Like they're a freaking mess. And I don't know exactly what it's like to live in Shanghai because I've never done that. But as far as what I've seen so far on the surface, this place is very, very livable. It's very nice. It's like night and day different. It's crazy. And that's what I've seen in a lot of the Asian cities that I've been to. It's just so much different than America. If you've never left the US before, definitely do that. It'll completely change your worldview. I think there's a lot of things that Americans can learn from how China is running its cities, especially the American cities need to learn that because the American cities are just like a mess right now. And maybe there's something to be said for too much freedom. I don't know. I was having this argument with my girlfriend a while ago after we went to Singapore. Singapore is really strict. You can feel it everywhere you go. They're very by the book in terms of the rules that they follow. Everyone loves following rules. I'm a bit of a rebel myself, so I don't think that's really the place for me. But again, really clean city, spotless. Went from a third world country to a first world, thriving economic, financial center of Asia in one lifetime, one generation, which is insane. Part of that is because they had certain principles that everyone follows, and it helps push everything forward in a more progressive, positive way than if everyone just did whatever they wanted. Now, obviously, the flip side to that is if you have the wrong idiots in power and they're pushing the wrong ideas, that could obviously backfire. So I still prefer freedom. But there's a lot of people, especially in America, you go around and people are just acting like complete idiots. They don't have any class. They're not making good decisions. Like the average person can't even keep bad food out of their mouth. So it's just very interesting to see. I mean, honestly, coming to this city, I'm like, I don't even really want to go back because it's so well put together and so clean. It's a night and day difference. So moral of the story, if you've never been here, you should come here just to check it out, to get some perspective. I mean, it'd be great if all Americans came here so that we could adopt like the good parts of China or Asia in general and really just bring them back home to improve our own cities. Because I would love to live in a big city in the US, but it's just not a great experience. I mean, the only thing that's good about living in New York right now, in my opinion, is the amount of stuff around, like food and amenities, and then also the amount of people and just stuff like that. But as far as like the actual quality of life, yeah, it stinks, it's dirty. Oh, and then also the public transit here, as well as all the other Asian cities I've been to, is like night and day different, just like everything else. New York's subway system, super old, dirty, not easy to navigate. It's a mess. Here, very easy. And they actually have this train from the airport that comes into the city, goes 270 miles an hour. It's pretty cool. It runs on magnets. It's like levitating above the tracks on magnets. So it's really fast and also very smooth. Oh, the other thing that's interesting here, no one uses cash. So you have to use either one of two apps. One's called WeChat, one's called Alipay, which is owned by the guy that started Alibaba. So basically everywhere you go, you pull up your phone and then you go on the app and you pull up your QR code, and then instead of tapping your credit card on the machine, they scan your QR code, which is kind of interesting. I know a lot of people are really against cashless societies because they don't want all your transactions to be tracked, which I totally understand. It's also kind of a pain in the butt, but that was very interesting. I'd say like the main things that stood out were really like how to pay for stuff, how clean it is, how quiet it is, and then just like how well behaved everyone is. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. I mean, I think the Chinese in general are like very socially anxious and oftentimes very awkward as well, which I do not like. And it's not really the right social setting for me. But as far as how the average person behaves in America, how they conduct themselves, like I was saying before, it's very degenerate. I think it's also very apparent in our media how degenerate things are becoming, especially music, especially rap music, just basically just holding people down, as well as movies and stuff like that. Another thing that was interesting, I was in my hotel watching TV. Of course, all the TV stations are Chinese, except for the exception of CNN. The only American station they play here is CNN, which honestly says something in and of itself about China. They want to only show one side of America, one perspective, and it's not the perspective that is the best perspective. No, I don't like any of the news stations in America. I think they're all full of shit, but CNN being particularly bad. And I'm honestly not that political. I don't like either political party, but that one tends to be pushing in the wrong direction. Not to say that the other one's going in the right direction. But anyways, all the TV stations are in Chinese. It's also a Russian influence here, which I didn't know before. So one of the TV stations is RT, Russia Today, which is the Russian state media. They're basically like CNN, I'd say. Pretty similar stance on everything. They don't like Trump. And again, this isn't a political thing, but just objectively, they don't like Trump. What's really weird though is you've got this Russian state media, the news channel, but they have American anchors on it. They're all Americans. So it's so weird because like you're getting spoken to by someone that looks like they're from America, because they are, but they're really speaking on behalf of Russia. It makes me wonder where they found these people and how they convinced them to do that. So that's very interesting watching that. And then there's a bunch of Chinese news stations in Chinese, so I don't know what the heck they're saying. And then there's another one that's in English. Seems like pretty similar stance as Russia Today and CNN. And then the other thing I noticed is that the TV channels and TV programs in general, they're not trashy like a lot of the ones in America. Like America's got like all these trashy reality TV shows. And again, the theme of my video here is a lot of degeneracy, but they're not playing that kind of stuff on TV here. Like they have cooking shows, they have more wholesome movies and television shows. And I don't really see anything that's promoting just degeneracy. It's really interesting to see. Obviously they value different things here in the city or in this country, which I think are really just going to promote success more. The other thing that's interesting is that there are cameras literally everywhere in the city. I don't know if you guys can see this right here. Yeah, so like here's one of the poles. There's like 10 cameras on this pole. Don't know how I feel about that. The other thing that's kind of funny is when you're walking around, you go to an intersection and you're crossing it, as a pedestrian. If you jaywalk and you go and it says don't walk, on the walk sign, there's a camera at the top of the walk sign, and the camera will actually take a picture of you. On the pillar with the walk sign, there's a camera, there's a walk sign, and below that, there's a digital screen, and it'll actually take a picture of you and it'll put you up on the pillar in front of everyone to shame you. It's really funny. So obviously I did it on purpose. I jaywalked on purpose and walked across, got my photo taken, and it posts like all these different angles of you, and it'll cycle through between like photos of you, and I think it was showing advertisements or something, I don't remember. And then it'll come back up with your photos. So it'll just replay you on there over and over. Here's these police pods again. Kind of interesting. I've seen these throughout the city and the police just hang out in them. So yeah, tons of cameras. I know a lot of people talk about how China, I don't know if they either have a social credit score now or if they're headed in the direction of that, and how if you do something like jaywalking, it can ding your social credit score, which can affect your life in certain ways. I think that's just ridiculous, and it's way too much control. I've heard in North Korea, they have the same thing. And if you get your social credit score dinged, it'll affect what kind of job you can get, what kind of food you can get, and will actually severely impact your quality of life. So I think that's just ridiculous. I personally hate that. So that's another side of China where I'm like, why are there cameras everywhere and they're taking pictures of you? And it's kind of weird. My taxi driver the other day also told me that they have drones in the sky. I haven't seen any, but he said that they have drones in the sky enforcing traffic. So they're basically looking for people doing traffic violations via drone. So there's a lot of oversight here, which was a little creepy. The main takeaway that I had is that America can learn a lot from the cleanliness of the city and also just the peacefulness and the quality of life. And America would be such a better place to live if the cities had these attributes to them. I think we'd also attract a lot more people, higher quality people, and prevent people from leaving the country. All right, well, there you have it. It's a bit of a ramble, but here's some big takeaways that I had from traveling to both Philippines and to China. It's very, very different in Asia. It always blows my mind when I hear people haven't come here, or just blows my mind in general when Americans say they haven't even left the US. So if that's you, I would highly encourage you, leave the US, go travel, go see the world. I'm working my way around as well. I've been to like a couple dozen countries at this point. Only continent I haven't been to is Africa. I think I'll probably go down to South Africa at some point next year because I've hired so many people there as well. I'll go over there and go meet everybody. But I'd say traveling is probably the best education you can get. Maybe not the best, but one of the best. And if you're just purely at home focusing on making money and you're not out actually seeing the world and seeing the differences in the world, I think you're really holding yourself back. You can also come up with a lot of good business ideas. For example, this was a really cool one that I like that I kind of want to steal. I was in a mall. The malls here are way different, by the way. They have a lot of good food options and they're kind of just nicer overall. But I was in a mall, needed some food, and went down to the food court area. First of all, there's no fast food like in the US. Like you go to a US mall food court, Burger King, it's McDonald's, it's pizza, just junk, just all straight poison that's going to make you sick, poison that's going to make you a less successful person. Anyways, what I found here was a fruit stand, but it wasn't just like a fruit stand you'd see down the side of the road. This was like a nice stall put together, like all the other food places. They had, oh my God, there's a guy over here who's snoring. Wow. Okay. Hilarious. So anyways, you could purchase like a small, medium, or large tub, and then they had all this different fruit. You could pick the fruit. They cut it up for you. They put it in the tub. I got this whole thing of, what did I get? Guava, star fruit, some other fruits. I don't even know what they're called. They're Asian fruits. And I paid like $2.50 for it. Yeah, there's a lot of food options here that are not poison, that are easily accessible, that are cheap. The other thing that's crazy is that when I was taking taxis around the city, who use this app called Didi, it's basically the Chinese equivalent of Uber. And I would take a 10 to 15 minute taxi ride across the city. It would cost me $1.80, $2.50, $2. It's crazy. It's so much cheaper. Whereas in the US and California where I live, if I took that same ride, easily $25, $30. So it's also very, very cheap here. You see a lot of people that are starting online businesses come and live in Asia. They're earning US dollars and then they come and live here, maybe not in China, but maybe in like Malaysia, Thailand, Bali, and then you just spend in that local country, and you can basically live like a king. Your income goes 10 times further. It's crazy. All right, well, anyways, that was a bit of a ramble, a bit of a rant on my takeaways from these two countries. Moral of the story, if you hire people in some other countries, let's say the Philippines, for example, after you work with them for a certain amount of time, you should definitely go meet them. It makes a huge difference on your relationship, which is really just going to translate into just better results. If the person knows you, they know you're a good person, you take the time out of your life to go meet them, which depending on where you live takes a while. Like it took me 24 hours to get to the Philippines. You're just going to strengthen your relationship with them. They're going to see that you care. They're going to see you're a real person. You're going to see they're a real person. It really just helps everybody at the end of the day. So I would say definitely do that. Obviously, it's got to be worth it because it costs money. It takes time to go do that. I would say if you have someone that you've hired and you've been working with them for at least a year, then it's worth to go see them. I wouldn't say do it after a couple months or even 6 months. Now, if you've got dozens of people or like 32 in one particular country like I do, totally worth it. I rented out a room in my hotel, a big venue room. We had it catered. We had a huge feast. We gave out awards. We gave everyone t-shirts. Everyone got to meet their coworkers. It was really, really cool. Great experience, great investment in terms of culture and getting to know everybody. So highly recommend that. And then secondly, if you have not gotten your butt outside the US for whatever reason, you need to take action. You need to make it happen. It's going to completely change your worldview. You'll learn so much that you can apply to your business, your career, really everything that you're doing, because every country that you go to does things differently. Some things are similar, but everywhere you go, you're going to notice things that are different. Some things that are worse, some things that are better. There's definitely been some things, like I even mentioned in the video here, about China in particular that I don't agree with and I don't like. I don't like all these cameras everywhere. I don't know if you can see this one. Here's another one. Right here, this thing's got like 20 freaking cameras on it. I don't know what they're doing with that. If you watch this whole video and you don't know who I am, and you haven't watched anything I've put out before, I have 3 different businesses right now. I might shut down the first one in real estate at some point, but the other 2 are online. One's a call center, one's a staffing company. And in the staffing company, I actually help you hire people in the Philippines, Latin America, Egypt, and South Africa. We cover a lot of countries depending on what kind of role you need to fill, what kind of culture you're looking to plug the person into, things like that. And I've been building these businesses online for the last 3 years. I have a background in real estate, like I said. So I've done real estate for 11 years now. And that's how I started hiring people in the Philippines about 8 or 9 years ago. I basically hired them to cold call and do admin work. Totally changed my life and just opened up my perspective on hiring and where to hire people from. And I make videos on how to do exactly that. I'm making videos on what countries to hire people from, how to hire people in general. Maybe you don't have a lot of experience with that, how to delegate work, how to build a business, and basically how to set up your business so that it's not dependent on you and you can just remove yourself so that you can come to a place like China and not be stressing out about not getting work done or not making money. So me specifically, I left for about 2 weeks, and which is basically just like making videos and improving my marketing. So while I wasn't able to post any videos because I don't have freaking internet here in China, I was able to still film a ton. That's the other thing that was interesting. Last point on China, you have to have a VPN to access any American applications. So Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, which I didn't know because that's actually a Chinese owned company. You have to be on a VPN. Yeah, that's what I make videos about. If you found this to be even remotely interesting, make sure to subscribe. I'll probably start posting more of these longer form vlog formatted videos as I travel. The other videos on my channel are mainly related to hiring, showing you how to hire people for about $800 to $1,200 a month full-time, depending on the role. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I also have a TikTok in which I post a ton of short form content, and then also the same on my Instagram.